welcome everybody. We are live. That's kind of silly to even say because I'm right here and you're there. I'm still waiting for Kevin, and hopefully he'll be here soon. I did email him to 2 emails, so hopefully I can kill enough time till he shows up, or it's all on me. So we'll see how it goes. But while we wait, I'm going to play you a little teaser I did. That was for a video that I did about 2 weeks ago that I finally put the teaser together for it, and will probably air in about 2 weeks. I am just going to email Kevin again. But yeah, so I'm excited about that one. That one is actually really, it was a lot of fun. It really was. It was a total adventure, and it was something very unique. We had done it many, many years ago when we got the invite to come down and check it out. I was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. So, I need a haircut. Hair's getting long. It's in my eyes. Oh, anyway, trying to do the Ray and keep the hat on. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. But with the reason I did the teaser video was because we've been approached by some other company that wanted us to invited us there, but they wanted to see what we had done, I guess, from Britannia Mines. So I've done that, and that was the teaser. And I've also sent them the real video too, which I do have on YouTube, but it's just not public yet. So let's say some hellos. So first in the house was and I'm terrible with names, so sorry if I butcher it. My name gets butchered all the time. Alan Sahari family, welcome. Jennifer for Water Girl is in the house. Hello and welcome. Bree, you're back from camping. Welcome. I think Bree's addicted to camping now. Red is in the house. Welcome, Red. Bree. The one, the only Karen is in the house. Welcome, Karen. It's good to see you. Nomadicana, welcome. I don't recall ever seeing you here before, so welcome. We are waiting on Kevin. I don't know if he's delayed due to traffic. You never know. Hawaii might have traffic. But yeah, he is in Hawaii right now. He is doing his nomadic adventures, and it'll be really cool to kind of catch up with him, see where he's at and what he is doing. Outdoor Adventures with Ron. Welcome, Ron. It's hard for me to remember your new name, Ron, but it's good to see you. Sue is in the house. Welcome, Sue. So right now we are waiting on Kevin. And until then, the video that dropped yesterday was a bit late. I apologize for that. But I might end up actually doing my video drops a little bit later. I've been doing them at 6, and it's been a real rush for me to be there for a premiere, or I just run the video. But 6 o'clock is usually when I start getting everything ready for Cayden for school. But I mean, school's going to be done. Actually, it might be done now because we're getting into really hot weather. Last time I checked, it was like 98 in the truck. So it's hot. This weekend's supposed to be even hotter. So it was just, we see the temperatures go bloop. So it's been an interesting day. I'm glad the air conditioning works is all I can say. I'm kind of doing a bunch of everything today. So my desk is a mess. I apologize. But yes, let me just check my email. Let me check spam too. That's all spam. That's all good. I don't really care. But yeah, so we are going into a hot summer. This summer, we are planning on doing a couple trips. We are going to be going over to Vancouver Island. I've got an aunt that lives over there. And I want to say welcome to Ray. I see he just wandered in. We are waiting right now for Kevin. I'm not sure if it's traffic or if he's out sun tanning or if he's out for one of his walks. Is what it is. You roll with it. But this summer we're probably gonna do a couple trips. With the gas prices here, it's absolutely ridiculous. We're paying about $6 a gallon for gas. So the trips here are probably gonna be a little bit shorter. It's supposed to probably get up to about $7 a gallon, which is absolutely ridiculous. So it kind of limits what you can do as far as travel without robbing a bank to pay for your fuel. Cookie is in the house. Welcome. So one of our trips is going to be over to the island probably for about 4 or 5 days. I've got an aunt that lives over there on the water, and she has a suite that she said we can use. So I'm going to go visit her and do a bunch of touristy things over there. It's a beautiful area that we're going to. There's a couple of hikes I want to do. There's a down plane. There's the water with all the whales and stuff. All that kind of cool stuff in that area. The second one would be up close to Alberta, going up into the interior to a lake up there. And on the way, there's a bunch of things I want to do. So that one might be about a week of travel. So we'll see how that one works. And then Cayden's got some summer camps and stuff like that as well. So 15E Romas, welcome. Haven't seen you here either. We are waiting for Kevin right now. And I emailed him 3 times. I think I emailed him to the wrong. It's one of his emails, but it might be an email he doesn't check. So it is what it is. You roll with it, and hopefully you wish for the best. But yeah, Ray was out on the water today, I saw. It looked like a lot of fun. A good day to be out and about. There's a Canadian word for you. About, and about. I don't know. People say that you can tell you're Canadian by that, so. Well, welcome. 15E Romas, we are waiting for Kevin right now. So he is either doing a hike, forgot, or is late, or traffic. Who knows? He'll show up when he shows up. So, what was I going to say? Oh, if the one thing I'm trying to figure out right now is we're going to be adding another element to our channel this year. And I'm kind of lining all that up. Hopefully I'll have enough time to do that kind of stuff. It's not going to be something that's every week, but maybe once or twice a month type of thing. I'm going to probably pull back on the pop-up drive streams and pop-up lives. Not do as many of those because those things are just, I mean, they're for entertainment for you guys. They don't do our channel any good anyway. And they don't stay on the channel. They actually go over to our membership section. If you're not a member, feel free to join. Probably the button's probably right here. Probably right in that corner, right there. I think. Right there. The membership section is actually really cool for the fact that you get discounts. You get discounts on merchandise. You get stickers. You get a lot of cool stuff. You get a lot of videos that aren't seen on the channel. you get a lot of different privileges. There's a running discount on there. You get to know what's happening before it actually happens. Videos are released to members only first before they actually go public. And we are doing some member-only chats and stuff as well. Plus, I'm working on another element on the website that there'll be a section in there for our Epic Squad of everybody that supports our channel. And then you're also on the credits of all our videos for all your support, because we do really appreciate the support. The funding goes right back into our production, whether it's gas, whether it's filming equipment, it goes right back into our channel. So yeah, we really appreciate all the support that we get from everybody. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have a channel. I mean, we probably have one, but the adventures that we do we try to show people what's happening. We try to show people a difference in like what's happening in the area. So I'm here trying to get my signal to work. Okay, so Kevin is trying. So that is good to see. Here, just in case the email didn't work, Kevin, here is the link for Kevin only. Oops. Delete. That's for you, Kevin, just in case the email stuff doesn't work. You roll with it. That's part of the nomad life. Sometimes you've got reception, sometimes you don't. And as somebody that interviews different nomads and adventurers and overlanders and van lifers, you get to expect stuff like that. So Shebna's in the house. Welcome. Great to see you. We are just, Kevin's trying to get some reception right now. He's not having the best of luck with his signal. I guess he's too far away in Hawaii. I was doing a bit of research on Kevin, and it was kind of funny because I like to have noise on while I'm working. So I'll have Netflix on, or I'll have the radio on, and I had a show on called Blind Spot. Blind. Get mixed up now with Blind Views. I think it's Blind Spot or Blind. Oh, I forgot now. But anyway, and I'm watching the show, and I'm like, whoa, back up. So I rewound it. I was like, I didn't realize Kevin was an actor. So Kevin kind of has a doppelganger out there, which really threw me for a minute. I was like, wait a second, which was really kind of funny. But yeah. And then, of course, my research at that point kind of shifted. It was kind of funny. But how's everybody doing? Hope everyone's doing fine. Hope anybody that's in some of this hotter weather like we have right now is staying cool. Anybody that's in some of the colder weather is staying warm. I understand Bree was actually camping near snow today or yesterday. Okay, didn't realize we still had snow. Are you good to go, Kevin? Okay, we're bringing Kevin up.
Yeah.
Are you good to go, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
We're bringing Kevin up. Yeah. Are you good to go, Kevin?
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
There's two of you.
Am I good now?
You're perfect.
Yeah, I apologize. I was actually gonna do this from outside, and so I was trying to get my phone all set up, and I just switched to a different carrier, and I don't know what happened. I couldn't get on, so I had to rush back to my apartment. You know, I was gonna do it from the beach. I was like, that'll be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be neat.
I should have tested it. So I apologize. I'm like, I hate being late to stuff. So I apologize to everyone that showed up and I wasn't here.
You roll with the punches.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Like I was saying earlier, I was doing a bunch of research and I came across you.
So it's funny that I have a lot of doppelgangers out there. The one I get most often is a guy named Pep Guardiola, who is not famous in the United States, but in Europe, he's very famous. He's the coach of Manchester City soccer team, and he used to be a professional soccer player. And I actually get confused for him when I'm overseas, to the point where people come up to me and ask me for autographs. So it's funny that you bring that guy up. I guess it's just all bald guys with gray, black beards look the same. Well, it was funny, because he's Spanish, and I've got Mediterranean roots, so when I get tan, I look very Mediterranean.
Well, it's funny because I just had the show on. I glanced over and I'm like, what? I had to rewind. I was like, what's Kevin doing on the show?
Yeah.
So then I pulled up the information, found out who it was. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I get Pep Guardiola the most, though. And then there's this British survivalist. I can't remember his name, but Ed Stafford. I get that a lot too on my channel. So Pep Guardiola and Ed Stafford. Pep Guardiola, though, when I'm in Europe, constantly, like I've had Starbucks people write Pep on my cup, thinking like, and I've had people come up to me asking me for autographs. One time I had this group come up to me, and I don't know what language they were speaking, but I couldn't convince them I wasn't him, so I just signed whatever they had. I signed my name. So, but yeah.
So there's there he is. Where'd he go? Right there.
Yeah. That's for whatever reason, I especially when I'm really tan, I guess I look a lot like this guy. I don't really see it other than like we're both bald with gray and black beards, but
Too funny.
I guess I resemble him because in Europe I get it really, really like all the time. I get it. So
that's funny.
Yeah, I never had anything like that when I had hair. I just shaved my head about a year and a half ago. So it's been a new phenomenon that I get confused. I think it's the bald thing. Like they think all bald guys look alike.
Yeah. I had that once too. It's like a friend of mine. I had some lady come up to me and ask me to sign a picture of him. I'm going, but I'm not him.
Yes, you are. Who was it?
Brian Ballmer. I was a little bit skinnier. He's a Canadian, a contractor too, right? So I put on there. I signed my real name, and then I took a picture of it and I sent it to him and like. Sorry, some of us have to just be better looking, I guess. It was just funny.
That's awesome.
So how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on your show. It's awesome. I saw the show with Amber last week. I don't know if you know this, but the first YouTube channel I was ever on was Amber's. She did an interview of me 2 years ago when I left on my round the world trip. She interviewed me on her channel. It was actually the first real boost to my channel. So it's cool. It's really cool to follow Amber. She's such a great person and an inspiration to me.
She's a sweetheart. Like it was just so easy to talk with her. It was just like,
a good person.
Yeah, it was like, it's like a long lost friend. And it was just so comfortable. There's some people you talk to and you're just like, yeah. You struggle, right? But not with her. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that whole shyness thing. Maybe it was the whole, because she didn't grow up in Seattle, but because she lived in Seattle, she kind of has a lot of that Canadian stuff. She kept on saying sorry a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she grew up in like the I want to say the North. She grew up in the North in Seattle, so yeah,
Well,
she has a lot.
She moved there when she was 20. She grew up in Dallas.
Okay,
So
I guess yeah, she's just overall just a really nice person.
Oh yeah, amazing person. Like yeah. So I mean, speaking of Amber, I mean, what was she one of your main things of getting into this, or what made you want to actually get into this whole nomad / van life, that journey that you've taken? Because I mean, you had a successful career as a lawyer, right?
Yeah. So I'm actually sending this link out to my subs real quick. I had done it before and I meant to send it out again, and then I got flustered. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I like type as I'm talking to you. But let me send this out so maybe we can get you some more people up in here. All right. So I was doing the corporate lawyer thing, and I was coming home every night after 18-hour days. You get paid a ton of money to be a lawyer. But I was coming home and I was watching travel channels, either two types of genres, either international travel videos. I was watching people like Remote Darren, Beer for Breakfast, Los LeBlanc, channels like that. Or I was watching van life channels, Vancity Van Life. I was actually one of his first 100 subscribers back in the day. So Vancity Van Life, Story Chasing, We're the Russos. That's how I found Story Chasing, was through We're the Russos, because she got a Heimer Active like they did. And I was going to do one of those two types of lifestyles. When I decided to make the leap into full-time travel, I was going to do one of those two type of lifestyles. And I ultimately decided to travel internationally first. And I signed up with a program called Remote Year, which I had planned. So the genesis of my name, for those that don't know, 30 to Wake Up, basically means I like to travel slow. And so I basically spend 30 days in a spot and then move on to the next place. So 30 to Wake Up. I like being nomadic, but I also like staying a little bit longer than most people. And so I joined a program called Remote Year. And what Remote Year does is they take a bunch of people who can work remotely, and they handle all the logistics of travel for you. And you live in a different country every 30 days. And so that's what I did the first year of travel. My Remote Year program, after I did 12 countries in 12 months, ended in March of 2020. And I was going to go home, spend a month with my mother, and then head out on solo travel, a bunch of solo adventures. I was actually going to get on a thing called the Nomad Cruise. I was going to get on a thing called the Nomad Train from Moscow through Siberia. I was going to the Nomad Fest. I was doing a bunch of different things. But if you guys remember what was going on in March of 2020, COVID first hit.
Yeah.
And so all those plans were grounded. I actually had 8 months of solo travel booked, and all, Airbnbs, everything. And so I was grounded, and here I am. I'm at my mother's. I was visiting her anyway for a month, the month of March. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I'm a travel vlogger that can't travel. And I was like, well, why don't I speed up the process of jumping in an RV and just go travel the US? Like, there's no restrictions. And at that time, there were no restrictions into Canada too. Actually, my first trip was going to be up to Cayden National Park in Maine. And I was going to go up into, up in Newfoundland and the East Coast of Canada. That was my original plan. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to buy a van. And luckily for me, at that time in March, when I started looking at vans towards the end of March, the boom hadn't hit yet. The RV industry was actually like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to sell anything. We need to get rid of these things. And later they realized, it was the exact opposite. People were going to try to get into RVs because they couldn't travel. So I got really lucky in that respect. I basically bought my RV at a pretty good price, and was actually able to sell it for just about that same price a year later. But anyway, sorry for a long answer to a short question, but that's how I ultimately ended up in the RV. That's ultimately how I ended up down that path. But it's also how I got into contact with Amber, because 2 years ago in 2019, I was thinking about getting a Heimer Active, and so I was talking to her, and I ultimately decided to travel internationally, and she was like, hey, why don't you come to Phoenix? You can check out my van, and I'll do an interview with you, because I want to start doing these interviews of travelers. And so that's how I ended up hanging out with Amber. And then, she was actually, when I found out I couldn't go to Maine, I actually went to Colorado, because Amber was camped with a bunch of escapers in Salida, Colorado. So, Amber was the first person I hung out with when I left for full-time travel to go international, and she was the first person I hung out with when I went into van life. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So Bree has a question for you. Are you single? Because you're cute.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm single. I'm pretty notorious, or infamous, I guess, for kind of staying single. I'm not opposed to dating, and finding someone, but I kind of like to do what I want to do when I want to do it. Like that's one of the reasons I left my job as an attorney, and I was also in the military for 20 years as well, which they have a lot of control over your day-to-day life.
Yep. And
so when I finally had this freedom, I was like, I'm not going to do anything that takes away my freedom to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And a lot of times relationships do that, and it's not fair to that person. It's not fair for me to date someone and just say, oh, by the way, I feel like going to Thailand right now, so see you in a few months. So
unless
I don't.
Somebody's like-minded, right?
Yeah, but even in that case, even when you find someone that's like-minded, maybe it's nomadic, you still got to negotiate with them. Like maybe you want to go to Thailand, but they want to go to Paris, so you're still limited on being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. You still have to like compromise, right? And at this stage in my life, I just don't really want to compromise with what I want to do when I want to do it, because for so long my life was dictated by my employer, and so and that's why I don't let YouTube dictate my travel either. I just did a video recently. Dude, why did you quit van life? And I didn't quit van life. I'm just doing something different right now.
Yeah, some pause.
And I make a bunch more money making van life videos than I do making travel videos. I mean, you can just look at my view count on my most recent videos. I make a ton more money, but I wasn't going to let that dictate my life anymore. And when I'm in a van, it's because I'm choosing to be in a van. And those are the videos you want to watch anyway. You don't want to watch me doing van life videos, like manufacturing van life videos, in my opinion. You don't want to watch that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are people out there that do that. You want something that's real, somebody that's doesn't do something to just do something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
and I think
yeah, I agree 100%. 100%. I mean, that's kind of how I live my life now. I mean, that's my mantra is, and it's a very selfish type of mantra, but my mantra now is I want to live my life how I want to live it. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And that's kind of the life I've tried to carve out for myself. And maybe some point I'll get tired of that, I mean, you get tired of things. I got tired of group travel. I did that for a year. I kind of got worn out of van life, and I wanted to go travel international again. But at some point I'll get, tired of that, and I want to do something else. I don't know, maybe I'll buy a sailboat, or I'll buy a smaller RV, or I'll buy a motorcycle, or, there's a million ways to do this travel thing. It'll always be travel, but the way I'm doing it might be different.
So you're in Hawaii for probably another week or so?
I have 2.5 weeks left. Okay. Yeah, I did 2 months here, which was a big mistake, actually. My channel's name is 30 and Wake Up for a reason. I'm so bored right now. You can only go to so many beaches and only do, and do so many like Hawaii hikes before it's like it all just starts to blend together and look the same. And so I wish I hadn't booked myself so long here. I did that for a reason though. I'm trying to finalize a longer term visa to Thailand, which ended up going quicker than I thought. So,
so that's
I'm actually itching. Yeah, I'm itching to go.
That's your next destination, is Thailand?
Yeah, Thailand's my next destination. So.
Yeah, my brother-in-law went over there before COVID, and he had a blast. He was there for, I don't know, a couple weeks, but he just had a blast.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places in the world, for like a million different reasons. And one of my goals is to explore people that are in the van life community to how affordable traveling internationally can be as well. Because a lot of people do van life for financial reasons. It's a budget friendly way to travel. But I tell people all the time, because they go, oh, I wish I could do like what you do with the international travel too. And I'm like, dude, it's cheaper than van life. Like it's much cheaper, especially if you have a good credit card point system, because then you don't pay for, like I never pay for flights. I've been traveling internationally for going on 3 years now, and I have never paid for a flight. So getting to the places I get to doesn't cost me any money. And then once you get to a place like Thailand, the people that watch my channel will see that I'm going to be living in like these luxury apartments with like beautiful swimming pools in the heart of these fabulous cities, in the middle of all the action for $200 to $400 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, cheap. And then you can eat. I mean, I'm sure your brother told you Thailand's just so affordable, but it's also very Western. Like the internet is better there than it is in the US. Like I'll be able to do live streams in 4K, or well, not 4K, in 1080p and not really have any issues. And it's so cheap to buy data there. So it's, anyway, I'm hoping I can introduce van life community to international travel, to encourage people that want to do it to get out there and do it, that it's really not that expensive to travel internationally. It'll cost you less than van life, even if you're doing van life Bob Wells style.
So do you plan on, I don't know how long you're planning on staying in Thailand, but do you plan on just doing the touristy thing or doing a van life thing over there?
Yeah, so van life's really tough in Southeast Asia because, it's hot as all get out there. Mm-hmm. And so like it's hot and humid. So if you don't have AC, like you've got to have AC. And they just don't have, there's just not that type of, they just don't have that type of thing there. Like people don't go out and camp there because it's hot. Like you can only stand being in the jungle, in a jungle environment for so long. So you would really need like kind of like a state of the art type of van. And they just don't have that, structure over there. Now, Thailand is full of national parks, which is pretty awesome, with some pretty cool things like tigers and elephants running around in them, that I plan on doing. But yeah, I definitely won't be doing van life in Thailand, but I do plan on doing van life in New Zealand and definitely in Europe. I've actually been in talks with Volta about doing some stuff over in Europe. So, because they're trying to get their product over there. So I'll definitely be doing some van life travel in the future. But in Asia, my goal is to basically stay in different places for 30 days. And at some point, once I get my feet on the ground there, is to get a motorcycle and start traveling and just living day to day on the motorcycle, going to different towns, maybe that aren't featured in YouTube videos as much. I mean, you're always going to see YouTube videos for Thailand on Bangkok, Pattaya, and Phuket, which are three popular destinations, but you don't see anything really outside of that, other than there's a couple channels now that are doing it. And one of my reasons for going to Thailand now is because of the pandemic, you can go to places in Thailand now that are gorgeous that normally would be wall-to-wall tourists. And now like pristine beaches with nobody there.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm trying to get over there now, because I want to experience those locations without the huge crowds, kind of like I did in van life at the beginning. When I first started during the pandemic, there wasn't a whole lot of people out there. Eventually it turned into a lot of people. But when I first started off in March 2020, April 2020, there wasn't a lot of people out there. So
no, you're seeing a lot more people kind of going that way right now.
Yeah.
From some of the other channels, they think, oh, you know, it's glamorous, and then they're out of it, right?
Yeah.
I call it, and the way I'm used to camping, I call van life glamping.
Yeah, van life is definitely glamping.
Yes.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I used to tell people all the time. I'm not like, I do enjoy camping. Actually, I plan at some point in getting an adventure motorcycle and just living out of a tent. I do enjoy that. But for van life, I was basically, I wanted to take my condo with me. And that's what I had. I basically had a condo on wheels, like a super nice condo on wheels.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't glamping. And I tell people that all the time. If you don't like how I'm camping, then watch another channel. There's plenty of channels of people out in, you know, the backwoods building cabins and, like, you know, hunting bear. That's not what I'm doing. I'm going around in a van, staying on BLM land, hanging out with escapers, and you know, so, you know, it's funny how people will judge you for that. I'm like, that's not what my channel is. My channel is me going around in a $120,000 van. It's definitely glamping. It's not. I'm not doing backwoods camping on my channel.
Yeah, I mean, you can take it to a different level, like Chrome has now, by, I mean, rigging out his vehicle so he can go more off road. So you know, you're out there more, right? You're not just in the city or in a park or wherever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and that's what I used to do too. I used to go off the grid. I mean, that's why I switched up my van, because it wouldn't get me to places I wanted to go. But even Chrome, I mean, I've been watching him since the beginning, since, you know, when he moved out of his apartment and, like, put a mattress in the back of the van. I mean, his van now is probably, you know, $70,000, $80,000 van. I mean, it's tricked out. Like, and Chrome will admit it, just anyone. I mean, he's out in the backwoods, but he's not, like, you know, he's not camping like Foresty Forest used to. I mean, now Foresty Forest has a really nice van.
Yes.
You know, he's not doing like Slim Potato Head and, like, you know, out like deep in the woods. He's still got roads, you know, to get him, you know, back to civilization when he needs to.
Yeah, and for him, it's because he uploads every day too.
Yeah.
He has to have some sort of connection or have access to it too, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of limits.
And he's got to move. And he's got to move a lot.
Yeah.
Because I mean, anybody who's ever tried I've tried day vlogging. I tried when I was in Spain. Man, that is tough. Like, I'm just astonished that he's been able to do it as long as he's done it. Make a day video. He's obviously come up with a formula, like, and been able to streamline it, but still, even with a formula, that's tough.
Oh,
that's tough.
Yeah.
Making a video every single
lot of work.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, he's always been like a kind of a workaholic too. So.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great. I mean, he's one of my favorite. I don't watch every day, but I try to catch as many as I can, because I just admire his production value too. What he's able to do with just a phone and his laptop.
So you were doing well at, you know, being a lawyer. You wanted to change. You're watching all these channels, adventure channels and stuff like that. There's a lot of other things you could have, you know, done. So you decided you were going to adventure. Why YouTube?
Yeah. So before I became a lawyer, I had a pretty popular investing YouTube channel that I had started in like 2010, and it actually did pretty well. I never showed my face on it. It was all like informative videos with just my voice.
Mhm.
But when I became a lawyer, I had to shut it down because I had conflicts with because I was a corporate lawyer. I had conflicts with some of the companies I was representing. So I shut it down. I really wish I wouldn't have done that. Not hindsight being 2020. So I was already familiar with the potential of YouTube, the earning potential of YouTube. And my ultimate goal was to make a YouTube channel that would inspire people, but also could fund my travels eventually. And so that, that was kind of my goal all along when I started my channel. And it's something I enjoy doing. I've always been kind of a creative. And so I just enjoy doing it. I love I love being a consumer. I consume a lot on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really like the platform. So I figured, why not? I'll document my day-to-day, and if people watch, great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. It's like, if you watch, great. If you don't, whatever. It's up to people. It's like people get all stressed out about a thumbs up or a thumbs down. To me, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, you see that, and sometimes it can get to people. But in order to get a thumbs down, that person's watched your video.
Yeah.
Part of your video. So they've already helped you out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's YouTube's interesting. It's an interesting look at like societal behavior, especially when you don't have any eyes on you. It's kind of fascinating what how not only nice but how rude people can be too.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, it's not like that's like rule number one of YouTube creation is you can't let that stuff get to you. And if it does get to you, just make YouTube videos with likes and comments turned off. I mean, there are people with very successful channels that do that. I have friends that do that don't have comments or likes turned on. So just if that kind of stuff gets to you, and that's what is holding you back or what stopped you from doing YouTube, just turn those things off.
Yeah.
They don't matter in the algorithm anymore. It used to be that likes, thumbs up, and comments mattered. They do not matter anymore. It's just not where the algorithm is anymore. Engagement does not matter. So watch time is what matters, and like click-through rate. Like those are the two things that matter. Engagement is so low on the algorithm's priority list now that it doesn't even matter anyway. So if that kind of stuff bothers you, just turn them off. I mean, I've contemplated just turning them off too. If I didn't like my community, I would have done it a long time ago.
Well, that's the thing. You know what? You get one negative and you get 100 positive, right? So don't let the negative outdo all the positives. There's always going to be someone out there that's negative. They don't like themselves, or they're not happy with their lives, whatever.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. How many subscribers did your investment channel have?
80,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was like I shut it down in around the time I started law school in 2015. So that was, at that time, I was one of the most popular investment channels. And now that I look back on it, I'm like, man, because there are the investment channel community has like blown up. I'm like, man, I wish I would have not deleted that channel. But and also I could have probably converted a lot of that audience into viewers of my travel channel.
Yeah.
But I never showed my face on that one. So
So if you never showed your face on there, how technically would there be a conflict?
I mean, you still, if anybody ever figured it out, there could be. I mean, there's just so many rules in the legal profession with that kind of stuff that you don't even want to play with it. You don't even want to have to defend yourself. And I probably would have been safe just letting my channel go dormant. But at that time, I thought, I was going to be a lawyer until I was like, into my 80s or something. I'm like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. Had I known, hindsight being 2020, had I known that eventually I was going to, leave that career and go venture off and travel as a YouTuber, I definitely would have kept that channel. But at the time, it was kind of a hobby for me, and it was like, okay, I can give up this hobby because investing was the hobby, and I just made YouTube videos talking about it. So it was actually really easy. It's much easier than travel vlogging. Much easier to make those videos.
So do you ever plan on going back to that?
I actually started a channel. I changed the name to 30 to Wake Up Backup Channel. I changed the name to that. So this channel right here, or not this channel, my channel, the 30 to Wake Up channel, has had a few different names. It was originally called Kevin Vagabond, and then it was called I can't even remember what it was called. It's had two other names, and I set up an email for it, and then when I changed the name, I didn't renew the email, and so this channel I can't do super chats with because it's not. I can't remember what it says when I try to do a super chat, but I can't because now I have it attached to my other channel, and so anyway, I had another channel called Dividend Nomad, because people kept asking me how I fund my travels, especially before my YouTube channel started generating any kind of real income. And so I was going to start a channel called Dividend Nomad, but I just kind of, was like, I was more devoted to my 30 to Wake Up channel. So it just sat dormant for a long time. And finally I was like, And then I changed the name to 30 to Wake Up Backup Channel, so I could use that channel to do super chats on people's channels. And so, yeah. But yeah, I have thought about doing that. And maybe at some point I will again. But I'm always weary about giving people investment advice, especially when they know who I am. Yeah. Because if they, it doesn't work out for them, I would feel horrible. So.
Well, it's funny because the first time I saw your channel name, I'm like, okay, and you were 30, you had a wake up call, and that's kind of how I looked at it, right? It's like, okay, you know what, life is too short. Let's get out there and let's adventure. Let's do something, right? And that's the way I kind of saw it.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people. See it. I thought about changing the name a few times to make it more clear, because obviously I'm not 30, and so I probably get that comment at least.
Sorry, 31.
Once. Yeah, I get that comment once or twice a day.
Yeah,
like, this guy doesn't look 30. Like, life's been hard on this guy, and I'm like, well, actually, I'm not 30, but thanks for that. Thanks for that comment.
30 plus.
Yeah. I've oftentimes thought about changing that name, but it's kind of like, it's kind of my brand now, so it might be too late to change it. But maybe I'll change it to just my name at some point, especially as I start traveling internationally again. And if I hop on a motorcycle and I'm traveling throughout Asia and Europe on a motorcycle, I probably won't be staying in places for 30 days. So then the name starts to not make much sense. So I don't know.
You're just a mature 30.
Yeah, I mean, I get that comment like at least once a day. I'll get like, man, life's been hard on this guy. He doesn't look 30.
So here's a question for you. Will you be focusing on your channel on travel or nomad full-time travel?
So I'm getting ready to release a video this Thursday. That's probably going to be the format I'm going to try to do more in the future, which is more it's more spontaneity. It's less planned. I started off and I'll say this in the video. I started off this video when you asked me, or when someone asked about like dating. I said I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it, but I haven't really been living my life like that. I've been getting Airbnbs, renting them like 2 or 3 months in advance. I'll rent. I'll book an event that I'm going to do a week or two in advance. And this next video, I just decide I wake up one morning and I'm like, I really want to kayak to this island off the coast of Hawaii. It's called Chinaman's Hat. I've never kayaked to it. And it's impossible to rent a kayak right now. You have to rent it at least 3 weeks out. There's so many people traveling to Hawaii right now. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to Chinaman's Hat. I took the bus here in Hawaii, which I've never done. I'm just going to go to Chinaman's Hat, and I'm going to try to find a kayak to go out to it. And spoiler alert, I do find a kayak. Some lady just lets me use her kayak out of the goodness of her heart. Yeah, I asked everybody. I asked like 100 people. Finally, the lady's like, yeah. Actually, she goes and gets it for me from her house. And so I'm going to start doing more videos like that, especially when I get to Thailand, because Thailand lends itself to that, because there's like one of the problems with the U.S., one of the great things about the U.S. is everything is so spread out. But one of the problems with making content is like nothing's really walkable in the U.S. And there's so many regulations. You don't have like you don't have surprises in the U.S. where if you're in Bangkok, Thailand, you could go down any street and just find like the most amazing thing. There might be an elephant like down a street you walk down in Bangkok, or you'll find like the best street food in your life, or there's a million different things you can find like walking down a random street in Thailand, or when you hop on a motorcycle and you go into some town in Thailand. The people are so friendly that they'll just invite you into their house to eat, things like that.
So how long do you plan on being there?
So I actually got a 20-year visa to Thailand.
Oh, wow.
So I plan on making Thailand kind of my home base in Asia. And then once COVID starts to die down, traveling to different spots in Asia. But now I have a spot that I can always go to if something like COVID hits again. I'm not restricted to just the U.S. I can travel to Thailand, which for a travel vlogger is just an amazing place to travel and adventure in. There's just so much to do. The food is amazing. Just a cool place to be, and it's so easy to get to other places like Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Singapore, Malaysia, Bali. It's just so it's a $10-15 flight to get to those places from Thailand. So so it's a good Asia hub. So my goal is eventually to have a US hub, which I have, an Asia hub, and then a hub in Europe, like in Tbilisi, Georgia, or Bulgaria, or somewhere like that, Hungary. And so, I just, I have these little hub places where I can travel out of. So that's kind of my goal. And so now I have my US hub and I have my Asia hub, at least for the next 20 years.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
What was your question? I think I veered off from it.
I don't even remember now.
I do that sometimes. I go down these rabbit holes. These rabbit holes.
You said earlier that you were inspired by Chrome. You were inspired by Amber. You were inspired. Well, actually, I don't know if you said you were inspired by.
No, I definitely was.
Bob, but those are some of the people that inspired you to do van life, or to do it a certain way, or to be a certain person about doing it.
So what really got me into RVing, to be honest with you, is I was born and raised in Missouri, and we only took 2 family vacations in my life. One was to Colorado and one was to Florida, both of them in an RV. And so I had fond memories of traveling in an RV. Mm-hmm. So that's where the idea of traveling the U.S. in an RV came from. Also, I was in the military for 20 years, but I was stationed out of the continental United States most of my career. Even when I was actually stationed in the U.S., I was usually on ships that were gone most of the time. So from the time I was 19 until I retired from the military, I hadn't really spent that much time in my own country. And so I always knew I wanted to get an RV and travel. And that's what led me to finding those videos on YouTube. So they didn't necessarily inspire me to travel that way. They just were they were just examples of traveling that way. that I had found from having that idea of traveling that way in my mind, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they definitely, like, originally I was like, we had traveled in a Class C. I was thinking, that's all I kind of knew was Class C, Class A. And then I found We're the Russos first, actually, in the Heimer Active. And then I started looking at other channels. I found Chrome. I found Amber, who was transitioning from a Class A, I believe, or Class C to a van. And I was like, I'd rather do the van thing. I like the idea of smaller and more compact. And so, so they kind of inspired me to do the van thing.
The one thing that would drive me nuts with Chrome's van, at least, is the height.
Yeah, that's why I ended up not getting one of those kind of vans.
Yeah.
I think New Jersey Outdoor Adventures has a similar van, but it's the old Airstream that has the bubble on top, so you can actually stand up in it. So if I was going to do something like that, if I was going to do a van like Chrome's, I would try to find one of the old Airstream B190s, I think they're called, and do it that way. I actually almost bought one of those about 4 months ago. It had a U-joint lift on it, a 6-inch U-joint lift. It was almost exactly like the one that New Jersey Outdoor Adventures runs around with. I don't know if you watch that channel.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so he's got an old Airstream van. They built a van in the 80s, but it has this big, basically, spaceship on the top, and he basically made it look really cool. It still has the Airstream silver color, but the spaceship on the top is like black. And he did a really awesome. He lifted it 6 inches. He got a U-joint lift, and it's an off-road beast. But he does a lot of really cool videos. I think Johnny's Journey's in here. She was just hanging out with him recently. He's got a pretty popular channel. He has over 100,000 subscribers. He does a lot of tour videos, and he's got a great channel. But yeah, I almost pulled the trigger on it, but it had some mechanical issues with it, so I ultimately didn't do it. But I would have loved to have gotten that thing, and I probably would have copied his style verbatim, because what he did with that van is like amazing.
Well, the one thing I see, like I like the compact size of Chrome's van. I just don't like the height. So I mean, that's for something I would take into a pop-up. So you know what, when you want to, you can pop up that roof. You got more windows, you got more ventilation. You want to lower that thing down.
Like that option. Like the Sportsmobile versions of, like, there's the Sportsmobile builds those. I mean, they're famous for building the pop-ups on those Ford and Chevy vans.
Yeah, and there's campers that can go in the back of your truck now that they got the pop-ups on them. So, and you
should check out New Jersey Outdoor Adventures and look at his van, though. The way Airstream put the big bolts, basically a spaceship on the top of those vans. It's really cool. It's really cool, and then you can obviously walk around in them. I'm sure if Chrome ever found his channel, he would do that to his van, because it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I've seen this guy. His van is really tricked out. Like he's set up for off-roading.
Yeah, his van is U-joint lifts are like the ultimate off-road. Yeah. I mean, they do vans, but they also do trucks. They do everything. U-joint is like the gold standard for good off-road lifts.
Yeah, no, I've seen his channel.
If they get ProMasters, they also convert to 4x4. Like that van is 4x4.
Yeah.
If they converted ProMasters to 4x4, I would still have my Travado. They just don't have a U-joint lift for ProMasters.
Yeah, when you said the name, it sounded familiar, and then when I saw the van, I'm like, oh yeah, I know who this guy is.
Yeah, his van's pretty famous.
Oh,
yeah, I was going to basically steal his idea and build the same van out. I found one. It was actually a decent price, but when I had it mechanically checked out, there was way too many issues with it.
Yeah, that thing's a beast.
Yeah, and it already had the U-joint lift on it, which U-joint lift and 4x4 conversion. So it was already, which is expensive. I mean, it's $20,000 to get that done. So and it takes for like you have to get in line to get it done too. Like there's a huge wait list for them. And so I was like, awesome. I found a van that already has it. And yeah, so.
What's this comment here? Hang on, Kevin, haven't you been talking about converting an element?
Yeah. So yeah, but you can get pop-ups on Honda Elements too. So yeah, if I'm either gonna go, I would either have to have a stand-up or I'm gonna go something like an Element and then basically live out of the van when I'm parked, and just sleep in it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought about a Honda Element. They're all-wheel drive. You can lift them 2 or 3 inches, and they're popular. They're in the resale market. They're popular for a reason, because they're like a cheaper version of a Subaru. So, and they're boxy, so it's easy to make to build a van or build a living space in them. But yeah, you can't stand up. Yeah, you can't stand up in them. I mean, you can get the pop-up, but yeah, you can't stand up in them. So
well, they've got, and it depends if you travel a lot or if you stay stationary. But I mean, you can get. I think Napier makes it where it's a cover that goes over the rear of your SUV, and then there's kind of a tent area that goes in the back. So I mean, your tent area you can stand where your SUV is your bed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's exactly what I would have done. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do that with their Foresters, and I mean, I told people this all the time. You don't, when you do van life, most people who do van life and do it the way that I did it, which is basically going to BLM spots, going deep in the national forest. You don't really live in your van anyway. You kind of live out of it.
Yeah.
So you're only in your van to sleep anyway.
Yep.
So if you're living out of it, it's not such an issue. I mean, except for when it rains and you're stuck in your van, then it's an issue. But as long as you're living out of your van, and you're not in like super rainy places like Chrome is, Chrome's in rainy places up in the northwest. So yeah, like. it would be tough.
I mean, it's either raining or it's sunny. So, I mean, right now it's what, 98. But last week we had rain, so
yeah.
It just makes your adventure more of an adventure.
Yeah. Plus, I'm not chained to one thing either. Like, I love the idea of doing something like We're the Russos. I don't know if you watch We're the Russos, but now they have the overland truck with the pop-up camper in the back that they live in. And like I'm like open to almost anything. I'm not like, I don't have tunnel vision, or I'm not like loyal to one way of doing things. Like, I'm only going to be in a van. I'm only going to be in a, whatever.
I think it's cool to experiment.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that like tribalism out there where people expect you to be that way. And I'm like, nah, that's not, like, I like all of that stuff. But then it makes people mad because they tune in your channel for one specific thing. And then when you don't do that, it makes them mad in the YouTube world, which is fine. I tell people all the time, especially now that I've switched, I'm like there's plenty of van life channels out there. And I direct them to I'm like, go watch Johnny's Journey. There's plenty of van life channels out there.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have to be mad at me about it.
The thing that I look at when I look at a channel, I'm not a van lifer. I'm looking at the individual. I'm looking at that individual's journeys, whether it's in a van, whether it's in a truck, whether it's in a tent, whatever it might be. Yeah. That's what I look at.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, even though I was looking for van life, my all-time favorite channel in that kind of in that overall genre is Slim Potato Head. And I would never want to live in a little trailer like he does. but I just love his channel. I love his adventures, and yeah, I'm the same way.
Talking about a Prius here.
Yeah, I love the idea of a Prius. I was watching this channel the other day, this woman who lives in her Prius, and I don't know if you know this, but you don't even have to turn them off. Like her Prius has been running for years, and it's like I mean, it's small, but it's like the ultimate live-in vehicle because you don't have to shut it off, so you can run your AC nonstop. And
that's what they're saying here.
Yeah, she's been running the AC for like years.
Wow.
Like she's been running her Prius for years. She lives in it. Like she never turns it off.
Interesting.
So that's fascinating to me. That side of it. It's a cool channel. I can't remember the name of it. It's a woman that lives in her Prius and travels all over.
Just a normal Prius, not like that. Because I've seen a camper version of a Prius.
Yeah, normal Prius. I mean, the inside of it she made into like a camper, like. But if you looked at it from the outside, you would just see Prius. Huh. Like you would know that someone was living in it.
Wow. Interesting. So your journeys right now for Hawaii are pretty much done. So you're looking at getting off to Thailand, and what's your first thing you plan on doing when you get there?
Well, first thing I got to do is quarantine. So those will be fun videos. I got to quarantine for 14 days in a hotel. It's very strict there. You can't leave your hotel room for 14 days. You get 3 COVID tests while you're there. They provide you 3 meals a day. And so it's going to be, I mean, luckily I'm an introvert. So like being alone doesn't bother me. But it's still going to be, I mean, not having any human contact for 14 days other than having someone come in and swab my nose is it's going to be rough. So I'll probably be doing a lot of live streams so I can hang out with my YouTube buddies. But yeah, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then I'm in Bangkok for a month. I rented a really nice condo in a really cool neighborhood called On Nut. And my condo is $365 for the month. I can't wait to show people that condo. It's super nice. It's got a pool, like state-of-the-art condo, very modern. But I'm in this really neighborhood that's kind of a clash of the old world and the new world. One of the streets is like all street food vendors. So it's what you would think of when you think of Thailand, but then it's very modern. There's a bunch of it's just a really cool neighborhood. It's right across this little river too, so you can hop on those little like big long boats that you see like in the movies in Thailand. Like they're kind of like gondolas, but there's a whole market of those boats. And so I'll just be exploring that neighborhood and sharing that with people, like the street food side of it, like what you can get for your money in Thailand, like just my day-to-day really. Well, and a bunch of fitness videos.
I remember, oh wow, it was 11, no, holy cow, it's been a while. It's been 21 years now. I had sent a couple, because I had a modeling agency back then, and I had sent a couple girls over to Bangkok for a couple months, and it was like they were sharing with a couple girls, I think it was, but it was like $50 a month for each of them for just staying. It was like, that's just so cheap.
Yeah, and what you can get though, like you can get very Western accommodations. Like it's just amazing what you can get for your money there. And Thailand's probably one of the more expensive spots in Asia now, because it's such a popular digital nomad location, especially Chiang Mai, Thailand. For anybody that's researched like the digital nomad community, that's like the digital nomad hub. And it's one of the more expensive spots in Southeast Asia, but you can still live there. You can live a very Western lifestyle on $1,000 to $1,500 a month.
Wow. Sue's being a smart ass.
So
she's saying, Kevin, does your 30 days in the country start after the 14-day quarantine?
Yeah, so my 30-day and a wake up there is going to be 30 days in cities in Thailand, because I'm going to be traveling throughout Thailand till it opens up a little bit more in Asia.
Yeah.
So I'll be right now. I have 30 days in Bangkok booked, and I'll have 30 days in Pattaya. I have both those booked already. But like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to start going more living more spontaneously. So after those bookings, I'm not even sure where I'm going to be, but it's going to be more of like 30 days. Maybe after that, it'll be 30 days on a motorcycle traveling, and then maybe 30 days on an island like Koh Samui. So it'll be, but she might be talking about 30 days. So on a normal tourist visa in Thailand, you get 30 days. And a U.S. citizen or a Canadian citizen gets 30 days on a tourist visa without having to apply. You just get it when you arrive. But because of the quarantine, they've actually made it a 45-day visa. So she might be talking about that, and not the relationship to my name.
She's probably going with your name because that's the way Sue is.
Maybe, but she's also a moderator on my channel, so she's kind of familiar with me talking about the visa situation there. Although now I have a 20-year visa, so I can kind of come and go as I please. So I don't really have to worry about the visa. That's always the problem with Thailand is staying there long term is harder if you don't have a long-term visa.
So what's Thailand's COVID rate at right now?
So they actually were one of the better countries in the world at the beginning, for a couple different reasons. Number one, they don't shake hands there. It's like it's like a bow with their. They do this thing. They go swadika like that. People just don't touch each other. That's not a thing there. So that helped a lot, because everyone thought they were going to be the huge breakout country because they're near China and they have a huge Chinese tourist industry. But they were able to control it really well. Another thing is they have a more communal society. So no matter what you think about this politically, like wearing a mask wasn't a political issue there. It was just like something everyone was like, okay. And so everyone were on board with the mask. Day one, there was no, it wasn't a political football like it was in Western countries. And so they did a really good job, but they were keeping it down like to only a handful of cases a day. But recently it spiked because now they don't have immunities because nobody got it. So now they're getting a little bit of a spike, but they just started rolling out the vaccine, and they're pretty efficient at that type of stuff. So I'm sure within a few months, it'll almost be like back to normal from a travel perspective, because they're a huge part of their economy is tourism. So they're trying to get, as much tourism as possible there.
And that was like the guest I talked to last week. He was from New Zealand, and they shut the country right down. They had, I can't remember if he said 20 or 200, but it was low count of deaths.
Yeah, it was Thailand and New Zealand that were considered the model for the world. Yeah, actually, on how to do it properly.
And they're still not open. Like they just opened up to Australia, but he's like, it affects his business. Shut it down because that's what he did, was take people out on tours. Yeah,
it's definitely been. Obviously, the whole world. This is something unique in our time. This is something unique in human history, at least in modern history, where something impacted just about everywhere in the world.
Yep.
Even World War II, if you were in Chile, World War II probably didn't affect you very much if you just were living your day-to-day life in Argentina or Chile. But COVID, there's nowhere in the world that you could go that wasn't impacted by COVID in some form of way. So it's almost like something like a common experience that we all share.
I'm kind of curious at some of these smaller islands like Christmas Island and stuff like that, if it ever hit there.
Yeah, and it seems like if it hit there, it would be hard to contain. That's why Hawaii has such strict entry requirements for coming here, because when you get something like that on an island, it's really hard to once it starts going on an island, like that's it. Like everyone's going to get it. So yeah, that'd be really curious to see how those places handle that.
Well, we've got this little piece of the U.S. That you got to go through to Canada to get. You can't take a boat to it, but I think it's like 8 square miles or something like that.
I read about that. That place.
Point Roberts.
Yeah, it's like part of Michigan, right?
Huh?
It's like part of Michigan.
No,
right?
it's part of Washington State.
Oh, okay.
But in order to get
okay.
Yeah, it's just this little tip of this peninsula that comes out, and it's got its border, and it's got this little town. But they virtually have had no COVID there.
Yeah.
Because, of course, they can't go anywhere. Nobody can go see them.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of funny to see this little area that virtually they were able to contain it. So
yeah, I'm sure a lot of places like you mentioned Christmas Island, which is a very isolated place.
Yeah,
I'm sure they were able to contain it, like an island like Vanuatu, a country like Vanuatu, which is in a little Pacific island, probably was probably able to contain it. But it's going to be interesting how they proceed, though, because I guess if you get everybody vaccinated, then you'd be okay. But as soon as they start letting people in, because at some point you got to open back up. I guess Christmas Island they've been isolated forever, so it's one of the more isolated places in the world. So maybe they could just be isolated forever. But at some point you got to open back up, and that's kind of been the struggle in Thailand. Is they did do a good job avoiding it, but once people start, eventually they got to open up because 30 or 40% of their economy is tourism.
Yeah. So
economically, they at some point they have to open up, but they don't have any kind of I got COVID, so there's there are billions of people throughout the United States and Canada that got COVID, so we have natural immunities to it now. Where Thailand has a very low percentage of people that have natural immunities to it. So when you do have to open back up, if you're not, if you don't have a robust vaccination program, then obviously people are going to get COVID.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how the world handles that. Because people still can't get vaccinations in a lot of places.
my doctor finally said I could because it's been 3 months since I had COVID, so now I can go get my shots. So
yeah,
but yeah,
they let me a month after for whatever reason they were just like, yeah, sure. And I got the Johnson & Johnson, which was only the 1-shot one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I guess about a month and a half after I had COVID.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't have any side effects from the. I didn't have any sickness or anything from the shot.
Sue's saying she saw something about that town. There's a border crossing, so they can't go anywhere because the border's closed. So
yeah,
it's a cute little town. And who knows? They're talking July, maybe August for the border to open. So who knows? But yeah,
that was one of my biggest disappointments with van life, was not being able to go into Canada. I really wanted to go into Canada with my van.
Yeah,
during the summer.
It's been a challenge for a few people. VNA, van life, they had tons. FNA, sorry, they had issues trying to get across the border. They waited 6 hours and got turned around. It sounds like they shipped their vehicle there and then flew in themselves. So
yeah,
but yeah. So you're gonna spend some time, obviously, over in Thailand and other countries over there, traveling, exploring, showing people a different kind of story.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually really cool.
Yeah. So before I started van life, I think I had 14,000 subscribers, and they were mostly Malaysian, actually, because I had a couple videos that I did in Malaysia blow up. And then I started van life, and I got a bunch of subscribers from that. So my audience is like a mix, is mostly van life people, but it's also has a huge Malaysian contingent, which is a very interesting mix. And so I'm interested. I mean, I know a lot of my van life people are going to fall off, and I tell people all the time, like, it doesn't hurt my feelings. Like if I was really into sewing and I was watching a sewing channel, and the person who was sewing decided to change their channel into a cooking channel, which I have no interest in, I probably wouldn't watch the sewing channel. Yeah. But I'm hoping that there's enough overlap with the travel side of it that some of the van life people tune in, and maybe it opens their mind to like, oh yeah, like maybe I could. I mean, if people who haven't been exposed to like especially, so my audience skews a little bit older now since I went to van life. It used to skew pretty young when I was doing international travel. Now it skews more older, like 40s and over. A lot of people in retirement age, either they have a retirement or they're getting Social Security. And in the U.S. and Canada, maybe not so much, but in the U.S., we're so closed off to knowing about the rest of the world. Maybe because we're closed-minded or whatever. But there's this huge expat community outside of the United States in all of these like amazing places, living on their Social Security or retirement or whatever it is, living great lives in places like Costa Rica, the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Tbilisi, Georgia, Kiev, Ukraine, Bansko, Bulgaria. And I really want to try to expose my audience to that segment of my audience to those places. Because like, man, if you only knew how far your US dollar or Canadian dollar goes overseas, you wouldn't think it was so much out of the realm of possibility, which a lot of people think it's out of the realm of possibility. But I tell people all the time, traveling internationally is much cheaper than traveling in a van, or at least it was for me. So,
well, the thing, and I don't mean to offend anybody by saying it this way, but when I went to school in Seattle, I did see a lot of the Americans very patriotic to their country, but they didn't know anything about outside their country.
I agree.
Yeah, it was just like, it really blew me away, because in our education system, we're taught about the States, we're taught about Canada, we're taught about other countries. So it's not, and sometimes I don't think we know enough about our own country, but we were taught a different way. And that kind of really threw me into a shock when I went to school down there. I was just like, this is different. Like, Seattle's 2 hours from Vancouver. And the question I always got is like, oh, do you live in an igloo? Do you have huskies? How much snow do you get? And I was like, we're just 2 hours north. Like, we get the same weather you have.
Yeah.
It really blew me away. Just, okay.
Yeah, it is kind of, it is crazy. It's the U.S. is so big that you can travel your whole life and not see the whole U.S. And maybe that's part of it. And Canada's the same way. And maybe that's part of it that there's so many things to do and see in the U.S. and maybe international travel is just out of people's minds. But you're right. It's very insular, and and plus the media doesn't help. Like I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, which is always in the top 10 most murder capitals of the world. Like, it beats out Brazil, it beats out Mexico City, places that are demonized in Western media. And I lived in Mexico City for a month, a year and a half ago. And in my mind, when I went down there, I was like, oh man, I got to be worried. I need to be on my toes about Mexico. in Mexico, and it wasn't anything like that. Like I felt much safer in Mexico City than I ever would in my own home city of St. Louis. And it's funny because so where I'm from in Missouri, people don't leave that state. Like you were talking about like the U.S. kind of like pride, and patriotism. Well, there's state patriotism too. Like Texas is notorious for it.
Oh yeah.
And Missouri's the same way. Like people just don't leave there. And a lot of my family lives in St. Louis, and they're like, "Aren't you scared going to all these like places?" And I'm like, "You live in a city that is 1 or 2 or 3 every year in murder capitals of the world. Like, it's far more dangerous to live. Like, I should be asking you that question. Like, how can you live in this city?" A place like Thailand is like ridiculously safe. Like there's like 1 murder a year there in the whole country of 60 million people. A place like Japan, like you could leave your cell phone on a park bench in Japan and come back 2 weeks later and it will still be on that park bench. Like it's like the safest place in the world to be is Japan. And yeah, there's like this just, and I don't want to like dog in my own countrymen, but there's like a closed-mindedness and just not knowing, and then also like the media's portrayal of places. I mean, it's just like, I say this all the time. If somebody outside of the U.S. was just watching like when the Rodney King riots happened in L.A., when the L.A. riots happened, if people were just in whatever country it was, watching the news, they would go, "Oh, I don't want to go to the U.S. It's dangerous because there was riots in L.A." Well, in a little town in Missouri, which is 1,500 miles away, like that's not what life is like there. It's not dangerous in this little town in Missouri, like it was that one day in L.A. And it's the same way. Like there might be some kind of civil unrest in Buenos Aires. Or even in Thailand, there's some civil unrest there now. But 99% of the number one, it's not violent civil unrest, and 99% of the places you go don't have anything to do with that. It's a bunch of college students. Yeah. That's so people like the media. I think it partially is media. Just like media overseas makes people think that everyone is like Trump or everyone is like Barack Obama, or it's the same thing. Like when I go overseas, they always, especially a few years ago, they just want to talk about Trump. That's what they think America is or was.
Well, it's funny because you talk about the riots. Like, I mean, there were riots last night in Montreal when the Habs beat Vegas. It's like, okay, why? It's like you get these people in there that just want to create this chaos. Yeah. It's like, it's stupid. We had the same thing in Vancouver, 10 years ago, something like that? I can't remember now. It's crazy. Yeah. It's like, whatever.
But at the same time, it's not a reflection of like visiting Canada. Like people should not visit Canada because, and that's what people in the U.S. tend to do. Like they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to visit Mexico because all I see on the news is like this crisis at the border." Which, by the way, the people trying to cross the border aren't even from Mexico. So it like, or like I hear about like someone getting kidnapped in Mexico. Well, every single day in America, kids get kidnapped.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But you're fine, like, so it's very, it's you have to get out and travel. Like you have to get out and travel. And then you'll see that really like people everywhere across the world are exactly the same. I don't care where you're at. I don't care where you're at. Humans are humans, the good things and the bad things, we're not special and they're not special. We're all kind of the same.
We are. And you know what? I don't think it makes a difference whether you're tall, skinny, purple, pink, white, whatever color you are, whatever size you are, whatever gender you are. We're all the same. Yeah. It doesn't make a difference.
We just want to be happy. We just want happy lives and happy, safe lives.
Yeah.
Like 99.9% of people that are that way.
And I've had arguments with people I've worked with before, a so-called, Christian, and I grew up a Christian. But the problem is, in order to be a good Christian, you need to have an open mind.
Yeah.
And not sit there and close your mind off. Say, no, that is wrong. Who are you to say that, right?
Yeah. It's that what you're doing. I mean, from a Christian perspective, what you're doing is judging, and you're not the judge. Exactly. So if you're really a Christian, then you're not, like, you need to drop the judgment because you don't get the judge. Let that person deal with their creator that is going to judge them, right? No matter what you believe, whether you're like, I'm very much a live and let live type of person. As long as what you're doing is not hurting other people, like, let people live their lives the way they want to live them. Quit trying to insert yourself in other people's lives.
Exactly.
Like, let people be free as they can possibly be.
Yeah, and it's none of your business either.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
You know what? We've gone quite a bit over here. It's been great chatting with you.
This is fun. I'm sorry I was late. I apologize.
Oh, it's all good.
I really wanted to do this from the beach. I was like, oh, this will be really cool.
That would have been cool.
He's never had he's probably had a guest in a van. He's probably had but I bet you he's never had somebody on the beach. No, and I just switched phone plans to a different provider, so my phone will work well overseas, and I didn't have something set up properly. So
it's all good. You got to fly with it, so it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But we definitely have to do this again when you're overseas.
I would love to. I would love to. That'll be fun. That would be awesome.
Yeah. But I don't want to take up more of your time. We've been going for a bit here. And I want to say thank you for taking your time. And, struggling to get in, but still making it in today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And if you haven't checked out Kevin's channel, you have to go check it out. I will, or Sue or Bree can drop the link for Kevin's channel. I did see it up earlier. So if somebody can drop the link, that'd be great. But yeah, I can, don't please. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you taking the time, and look forward to talking to you when you're in Thailand.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kevin.
Right. Take care.
See ya. So, it's really cool to see different perspectives and talk to people that travel and aren't worried about, what people think. And I think that's what makes Kevin really special in what he does. Getting out there and doing what fills the soul. And I think that's what's important, is for him to show us, these are his journeys. We're following along. And I really give Kevin 2 thumbs up for his adventures and everything that he's doing. I do want to say we are going to go over and raid the RV DJ, if someone can drop that link as well. Thank you, Sue, for dropping the link for Kevin's channel. If you haven't gone over to Kevin's channel, check it out. Some great content there. But yes, thank you everybody for stopping by. If you haven't already, you can check out our website at vancityadventure.ca, which is actually scrolling along the bottom here. And you're on our channel as well. So if you haven't, subscribe. That button is right here, right there, for a lot of benefits and perks and discounts and stuff like that. So I want to say thank you, everybody. We're going to go over to Raid Sonia's channel. And I want to say have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.